Dune, Chapter 13 by Frank Herbert. On that day, when Muad'Dib rode through the streets of Arrakeen with his family, some of the people along the way recalled the legends of the prophecy and they ventured to shout, Mahdi! But their shout was more a question than a statement, for as yet they could only hope he was the one foretold as the Lisan al-Gaib, the voice from the outer world. Their attention was focused too on the mother, because they had heard she was a Bene Gesserit, and it was obvious to them that she was like the other Lisan al Gaib, from Manual of Muad'Dib by the Princess Irulan. The Duke found Thufir Hawat alone in the corner room, to which a guard directed him. There was a sound of There was the sound of men setting up the communications equipment in an adjoining room, but this place was fairly quiet. The Duke glanced around as Hawat arose from a paper-cluttered table. It was a green-walled enclosure with, in addition to the table, three suspension chairs in which the Harkonnen H had been hastily removed, leaving an imperfect color patch. The chairs are liberated, but quite safe, Hawat said. Where is Paul, sire? I left him in the conference room. I'm hoping we'll I'm hoping he'll get some rest without me there to distract him. Hawat nodded, crossed to the door to the adjoining room, closed it, shutting off the noise of static and electronic sparking. Thufir, Leto said, the Imperial and Harkonnen stockpiles of spice attract my attention. My lord? The Duke pursed his lips. Storehouses are susceptible to destruction. He raised a hand as Hawat started to speak. Ignore the Emperor's horde. He'd secretly enjoy it if the Harkonnens were embarrassed. And can the Baron object if something is destroyed which he cannot openly admit that he has? Hawat shook his head. We've very few men to spare, sire. Use some of Idaho's men, and perhaps some of the Fremen would enjoy a trip off planet. A raid on Gady Prime. There are tactical advantages to such a diversion, Thufir. As you say, my lord. Hawat turned away, and the Duke saw evidence of nervousness in the old man, thought, perhaps he suspects I distrust him. He must know I've private reports of traitors. Well, best quiet his fears immediately. Thufir, he said, since you're one of the few I can trust completely, there's another matter bears discussion. We both know how constant watch must be kept to prevent traitors from infiltrating our forces, but I have two new reports. Hawat turned to him, stared at him, and Leto repeated the stories Paul had brought. Instead of bringing on the intense mentat concentration, the reports only increased Hawat's agitation. Leto studied the old man and presently said, You've been holding something back, old friend. I should have suspected when you were so nervous during staff. What is it that was too hot to dump in front of the full conference? Hawat's sapphire-stained lips were pulled into a prim straight line with tiny wrinkles radiating into them. They maintained their wrinkled stiffness as he said, My lord, I don't know quite how to broach this. We've suffered many a scar for each other, Thufir, the Duke said. You know you can broach any subject with me. Hawat continued to stare at him, thinking, This is how I like him best. This is the man of honor who deserves every bit of my loyalty and service. Why must I hurt him? Well, Leto demanded. Hawat shrugged. It's a scrap of a note. We took it from a Harkonnen courier. The note was intended for an agent named Pardy. We've good reason to believe Pardy was top man in the Harkonnen underground here. The note, it's a thing that could have great consequence. Or no consequence. It's susceptible to various interpretations. What's the delicate content of this note? Scrap of a note, my lord. Incomplete. It was on a minimic film with the usual destruction capsule attached. We stopped the acid action just short of full erasure, leaving only a fragment. The fragment, however, is extremely suggestive. Yes? Hawat rubbed at his lips. It says, Eto will never suspect, and when the blow falls on him from a beloved hand, its source alone will be enough to destroy him. The note was under the Baron's own seal, and I've authenticated the seal. Your suspicion is obvious, the Duke said. His voice was suddenly cold. I'd sooner cut off my arms than hurt you, Hawat said. My lord, what if... Lady Jessica, Leto said. He felt anger consuming him. Couldn't you wring the facts out of this party? Unfortunately, Party was no longer among the living men when we intercepted the courier. The courier, I'm certain, did not know what he carried. I see. Leto shook his head, thinking, what a slimy piece of business. There can't be anything in it. I know my woman. My lord, if... No, the Duke barked. There's a mistake here that... We can't ignore it, my lord. She's been with you. She's been with me for 16 years. There have been countless opportunities for... You yourself investigated the school and the woman. Hawat spoke bitterly. Things have been known to escape me. It's impossible, I tell you. The Harkonnens want to destroy the Atreides line, meaning Paul too. They've already tried once. Could a woman conspire against her own son? Perhaps she doesn't conspire against her son, and yesterday's attempt could have been a clever sham. It could have been a sham. Sire, she isn't supposed to know her parentage, but what if she does know? What if she were an orphan, say, orphaned by an Atreides? She'd have moved long before now. Poison in my drink, a stiletto at night. Who's had a better opportunity? The Harkonnens mean to destroy you, my lord. Their intent is not just to kill. There's a range of fine distinction in Canley. This could be a work of art among vendettas. The Duke's shoulders slumped. He closed his eyes, looking old and tired. It cannot be, he thought. The woman has opened her heart to me. What better way to destroy me than to sow suspicion of the woman I love? He asked. An interpretation I've considered, Hawat said. Still, the Duke opened his eyes, stared at Hawat, thinking. Let him be suspicious. Suspicion is his trade, not mine. Perhaps if I appear to believe this, that will make another man careless. What do you suggest? The Duke whispered. For now, constant surveillance, my lord. She should be watched at all times. I will see it's done unobtrusively. Idaho would be the ideal choice for the job. Perhaps in a week or so we can bring him back. There's a young man we've been training in Idaho's troop who might be ideal to send to the Fremen as a replacement. He's gifted in diplomacy. Don't jeopardize our foothold with the Fremen. Of course not, sire. And what about Paul? Perhaps we could alert Dr. Yue. Leto turned his back on Hawat. I leave it in your hands. I shall use discretion, my lord. At least I can count on that, Leto thought. He said, I will take a walk. If you need me, I'll be within perimeter. The guard can... My lord, before you go, I've a film clip you should read. It's a first approximation analysis on the Fremen religion. You'll recall you asked me to report on it? The Duke paused, spoke without turning. Will it not wait? Of course, my lord. You should... You asked what they were shouting, though. It was Mahdi. They directed the term at the young master when they... At Paul? Yes, my lord. They've a legend here, a prophecy, that a leader will come to them, a child of a Bene Gesserit, to lead them to true freedom. It follows the familiar Messiah pattern. They think Paul is this. They only hope, my lord. Hawat extended a film clip capsule. The Duke accepted it, thrust it into a pocket. I'll look at it later. Certainly, my lord. Right now, I need time to think. Yes, my lord. The Duke took a deep sighing breath, strode out the door. He turned to his right down the hall and began walking, his hands behind his back, paying little attention to where he was. There were corridors, stairs, and balconies and halls. People who saluted him and stood aside for him. In time, he came back to the conference room and found it dark, Paul asleep on the table with a guard's robe thrown over him and a ditty pack for a pillow. The Duke walked softly down the length of the room and onto the balcony overlooking the landing field. A guard at the corner of the balcony, recognizing the Duke by the dim reflection of lights from the field, snapped to attention. At ease, the Duke murmured. He leaned against the cold metal of the balcony rail. A pre-dawn hush had come over the desert basin. He looked up. Straight overhead, the stars were a sequin shawl flung over blue-black. Low on the southern horizon, the night's second moon peered through a thin dust haze, an unbelieving moon that looked at him with a cynical light. As the Duke watched, the moon dipped beneath the shield wall cliffs, frosting them, and in the sudden intensity of darkness he experienced a chill. He shivered. Anger shot through him. The Harkonnens have hindered and hounded and haunted me for the last time, he thought. They are dung heaps with village provost mines. Here I make my stand. And he thought with a touch of sadness, I must rule with eye and claw, as the hawk among lesser birds. Unconsciously, his hand brushed the hawk emblem on his tunic. To the east, the night grew a faggot of luminous gray, then seashell opalescence that dimmed the stars. There came a long, bell-tolling movement of dawn striking across a broken horizon. It was a scene of such beauty it called all his attention. Some things beggar likeness, he thought. He had never imagined anything here could be as beautiful as that shattered red horizon and the purple and ochre cliffs beyond the landing field where the night's faint dew had touched life into the hurried seeds of Arrakis. He saw great puddles of red blooms, and running through them an articulate thread of violet, like giant footsteps. It's a beautiful morning, sire, the guard said. Yes, it is. The Duke nodded, thinking perhaps this planet could grow on one. Perhaps it could be a good home for my son. Then he saw the human figures moving into the flower fields, sweeping them with strange scythe-like devices. Dew gatherers. Water so precious here, even the dew must be collected. And it could be a hideous place, the Duke thought.